everyone, hope everything's going well. Today's video is about coincidences, but it's not about these hanky-panky boxes that these companies give to influencers. Instead, it's about coincidences with NFL quarterbacks and heading to the Super Bowl and actually winning them. And I'm talking about just recently. I would say in the last 25, 30 years, a pattern has emerged. And what is the pattern? And the pattern is higher IQ quarterbacks tend to win it all. Some people got triggered at this in the chat of Neo's live stream the other day. Some people got a little mad at me saying that, well, this is turning into a Trump discussion when you're discussing IQ and quarterbacks. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't vote anymore. And two, what does this have to do with, Trump, right? This has to deal with IQ. This has to deal with the latest Super Bowl winners that are quarterbacks. And I'm not a guy that depends solely on numbers. I saw this video from Vintage Sports Shack. I think that's his channel. And he mentioned me, and it's fine if you have different opinions. That's normal. And he was saying that, hey, look, he was a decent athlete in high school. He ran track, I believe. I did cross country. I wasn't as good of an athlete as he was when it came to running. He won like many awards, so that's pretty nice to hear him talk about that. And he said that, hey, look, it's not about numbers like I talk about. It's about, assessing talent. And I do agree to a certain degree about that, because if you look at baseball, for instance, they focus too much on analytics and launch angle. And when you're these Ivy League executives trying to teach these individuals who come from humble backgrounds from the Dominican Republic or areas around that, I think teaching them about launch angle is really dumb. So I'm not a fan of analytics per se. There are a few things that I may agree with. I agree with the shift, but they're getting rid of the shift. But I don't want to talk about baseball here. I want to talk about what type of analytics that I like in terms of football, and that is IQ. And it's not for all positions. You don't need to be that smart of a guy to be a running back. I believe like Adrian Peterson isn't that bright of a guy based on his Wonderlic score, but who cares? Because you don't need to be a smart guy to be a running back. You just need to be a decent athlete and find the holes that the offensive linemen find for you and run through those gaps. But the smartest people on the field, they did studies, are offensive linemen and quarterbacks. That's what they want. Offensive linemen need to know all sorts of the plays. They need to know the offense. They need to know the defense. They need to help the QB. So they tend to be smarter, the most successful ones. And the quarterbacks, no different. They need to be able to read the defenses really well. And that's why you see over the last 25, 30 years, when there's more analytics out there, who are the quarterbacks that have won? They're the higher IQ quarterbacks. Like Tom Brady, high Wonderlic score. Peyton Manning, he had a high Wonderlic score. You had Drew Brees, high Wonderlic score. Eli Manning, high Wonderlic score. You see the pattern? You see Matthew Stafford, high Wonderlic score. The list goes on and on and on. Kurt Warner had a high Wonderlic score. Okay, this is not merely a coincidence, in my opinion. There's a science behind this, in my opinion, okay? And we could talk about how the NFL is scripted and rigged and all that stuff, and how once the Chiefs win, then Travis Kelce is going to be proposing to Taylor Swift, and bada bing, bada boom, he retires, okay? We could talk all about that, but if you want to look at the science behind it, IQ is very important. Patrick Mahomes. Now, I was wrong about Patrick Mahomes. I thought he'd be more of like a Kurt Warner guy, where he did still have a decent career, but totally wrong about that. Call me out on that. Some of the Mahomes fans. You have every right to do so. But what what makes Mahomes special? Yes, he's a gifted quarterback. Yes, he has an above average Wonderlic score. It's not the highest, 24. But what did he ace? He aced the S2 cognition test. The S2 cognition test is a test that, number one, measures an individual's cognitive ability and to react. And he scored high. Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl, aced it. You know who else aced it? Brock Purdy. You see a pattern here? Now, just because you ace it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be going to the Super Bowl, but the people that go to the Super Bowl and win usually are the high IQ guys. You know, it is what it is. And I see people speculating a lot of money in quarterbacks. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you be spending an arm and a leg on quarterbacks unless you're trying to flip it right away? They have a few hot games and then you get rid of the cards. Why would you spend an arm and a leg in a low IQ quarterback? I know that sounds harsh to some people, but I'm looking at it from just a scientific point of view, mathematic point of view. And some people say, oh, that you can't think like that. I don't use feelings when I analyze information. I look at it from just basically calling it a spade. All right? And take my emotions out of it. A lot of people use emotional analysis, not emotional analysis. They just react based on their emotions. You can't. You have to look at data in situations like this. And once again, this Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes versus Brock Purdy, high IQ quarterbacks. And it's really interesting. Last note, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, is in the Super Bowl. But his S2 cognition test showed this guy can process information in a very quick manner. And that's why he's had success. And yeah, okay, he does have Christian McCaffrey. He does have Kittle. Once again, you still got to play. And I give props to guys like him. But once again, if you're speculating in quarterbacks, throwing a lot of money, this is something that you should probably look at. Now, doesn't mean you're going to make money off of it, but I use probabilities in terms of this. And I'm going to be looking at some other quarterbacks in the next year or so, looking based on this test. Now, other last thing is that the NFL doesn't allow these tests from their collective bargaining agreement, so they have to do it basically when they're in college. And they banned the Wonderlic test, which I don't understand that, but I guess everyone reacts to emotions these days rather than look at data from an unbiased point of view. That's, I think, one aspect of our society which is creating problems is people get way too emotional rather than look at the data. But anyways, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye.